News Plus. We hope you join us at 2 p.m. for Florida Live, and then back here at 4 for more Fox 35 News Plus. Have a great afternoon.
Florida Live starts now.
Well, good afternoon to you and welcome into Florida Live. I'm Garrett Wymer, and thanks for joining us on this Monday afternoon live on Fox Local, Fox13News.com, Fox35Orlando.com, and also on YouTube. We appreciate you joining us here today. We've got a lot to get to, but the first thing I want to do is start with a question for you. This is our question today that we would like to know which epic universe world you want to see. And there's a reason why we are asking this, because we're going to check in a little bit. I want to play for you an interview that I did earlier with Fox 35's David Martin, who had the chance to visit Epic Universe over the weekend as part of the media previews. He had the chance to ride many of the rides, see a lot of what's going on there. We won't have time to play for you all 5 of his stories, looking at each individual world. So we want you to pick which one you want to see. It looks like one person already voted before the start of the show here. But if you scan the QR code that you see on your screen, or if you go to fox35orlando.com/vote, you will be able to select which world you want to see and get a closer look at. I'll give you a sneak peek of a little bit later in the show. We will show you a Celestial Park, which is the first kind of world that you will enter into when you walk into Epic Universe. But when it comes to the other ones, we want you to pick which one we take a look at. So was that Harry Potter Ministry of Magic? Is that the Dark Universe, Super Nintendo World, or the How to Train Your Dragon Isle of Berk? It looks like so far it's How to Train Your Dragon, but we hope you vote as well, see which one you want to see, and we will play that one for you to give you a closer look ahead of the opening of Epic Universe, less than 50 days away now, ahead of Memorial Day weekend. That's not all we've got going on here on Florida Live on this Monday afternoon. Want to let you know a little bit more about what we have for you. Coming up a little bit later in the show, a study showing that Tampa's vulnerability to weather and how city leaders are working to address that. They talked about the impacts of climate change, historic rainfall, rising sea levels, and also threats from storm surge. So we will have more on that in just a little bit. In our Tampa connection this afternoon, could a missing teen's death have been prevented? A new report with some startling new details that we will talk with Nancy Gay about here in just a little bit. Also, Governor Ron DeSantis expected to speak in Panama City Beach. This is a live look at, let me see here, the Treasure Island Marina in Panama City Beach, where he was expected about an hour ago for a news conference that still has not yet gotten underway. We expect that to begin, though, shortly, and we will bring that to you live here on Florida Live. In fact, it looks like he may be walking in right now. So let's go ahead and take a look here. There he is. He has just walked inside the marina, shaking some hands. You saw the folks in the crowd standing up as they expect him to walk up and speak here. Not sure exactly what the topic is going to be here. We know he is going to be with and is with Roger Young, who is the executive director of the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Committee. And so sometimes that gives you a little bit of a hint of what he's going to talk about, but they have not said what the exact topic is. I was trying to see on the placard that the staffer there was carrying and now affixing to the podium. So we hear some applause from folks in the crowd. They are standing there as he walks. You see the background of boats in the background behind him as the governor walked up to the stage to speak. So let's go ahead and listen in.
Great to be back in Northwest Florida. We love being in Bay County. I want to thank everybody who's come today. We're joined by Senator Jay Trumbull, who's the senator from Bay County. I don't know whether, when I announce the politicians, sometimes yes, sometimes no. I'm glad Jay got the thumbs up. We also have FWC Executive Director Roger Young, and then we have the Todds here, and you're going to hear from Jimmy Todd who's hosting us here today at Treasure Island Marina. So I want to thank them for that. So we're going to talk about obviously marine-related issue today, but before I do that, I just want to wish the Florida Gators a good run today against Houston. Not everyone may want that in Northwest Florida, but most I think do when it becomes a Florida. Even my kids, who are very big in the Florida state, and we've asked them for many weeks, if Florida makes it, who are you going to root for? Who are you going to root for? Finally, they've admitted they're going to root for Florida to beat Houston. So, Gator Nation can rest assured that we have a united household in the state of Florida, at least in the governor's office. We all want to see them bring home a national championship. And then, late Friday, we see all this stuff with these judges, with what they're doing around the country, thinking that they can run the federal government, the executive branch, better than the elected president can do. So all the stuff that President Trump is implementing with executive power, almost all of that gets challenged immediately in the courts. And what do? They go find some judge who's going to say, oh, you can't do that. You can't send illegals back. You can't do all this. So that's not anything that we didn't know would happen. That's not something they and the administration didn't think would happen. That's just, unfortunately, par for the course. But we had, on Friday afternoon, we had one of these activist judges down in South Florida rule that one of the laws that we very carefully crafted working with the legislature to combat illegal immigration, that we can hold you accountable for illegally entering Florida, which we have used successfully, that somehow we're not allowed to do that. And that's an example of a judge trying to throw sand in the gears, trying to prevent us from doing what's right. We obviously are going to fight that. We're going to continue with our strong efforts to combat illegal immigration. No state is doing more to work with the Trump administration to enforce federal immigration laws and to return illegals to their home country. That's the mandate. That's what we've got to do. So we anticipated this fully. We know that just what happens when you do with these things, but we were also very careful in how we approached it. We understand other states have tried things similar. We definitely did it a little bit different in a way that ultimately can withstand fair-minded jurists, but on this case, I think we had no chance to be able to be successful. So stay tuned on that, but we're in that fight. We're not looking back. We're not going to take the pedal off the gas. Now, we're here in Panama City Beach because we have an opportunity to do something that really is a grassroots movement on boater freedom. And I'll talk about what we're looking to do and what Senator Trumbull is pushing in the Senate in a minute. But this is something that has grown out of people reporting to elected officials like Senator Trumbull, like me, about what needs to be done to make it better for boating and fishing in the state of Florida. Now, we have the top state in the country for boating and fishing anywhere, probably anywhere in the world, but certainly anywhere in the United States. And it's not even really close. Our recreational boating industry alone is $31.3 billion annually. and that's a 53% increase since 2018. You know, what happened? Well, when people started flooding down here, and, you know, some of this is good. It can help the economy. And certainly boats never did better. I mean, these people couldn't make the boats fast enough because people would come from north and they'd say, okay, you're in Florida. You got a boat. You got to fish. So we got to do this. And so they bought all these boats. And like these guys are making boats in Florida, had never done better. You know, the problem is they didn't really know how to navigate with these boats because they hadn't done it before. And so we've kind of had some growing pains there. I think people see kind of some of the newer newly minted captains and kind of getting their sea legs, but the reality is it's been a big boom. We are now home to over 7,000 marine businesses, and that equates to over 100,000 jobs across the state of Florida just for the boating industry. In 2023, we surpassed 922,000 boat registrations statewide in the state of Florida. We are #1 in marine expenditures, and we have the most boats of any place in the country. We also have 4 million licensed anglers. And as I said, we're without peer when it comes to fishing. And look what we've done with Gulf red snapper, you know, 105 days. Like, you know, we took the bull by the horns on that one, and we're delivering great opportunity. Incidentally, I'm asking the Department of Commerce, which oversees NOAA, to take the success that we've had with state-managed Gulf red snapper and let the state of Florida manage Atlantic red snapper. You know how many days they gave in 24? They gave, well, 1 or 2, depending, I mean, but literally, you know, they'll do a day, they'll do 2 days. There's a lot of red snapper out there. This is bogus data, just like it was bogus in the Gulf. I don't think it's ever been healthier now as we've expanded the season. So we give us the opportunity to manage that. And, you know, I told the Secretary of Commerce, I was like, you know, we go out on the Atlantic coast and announce this, it's going to be huge support for being able to have an evidence-based red snapper season where there's a lot of red snapper out there. So we're working on that for sure. We want to make sure that we're able to do that. We've done a lot of different things over the years to be able to help this. I mean, we do the outdoor tax holiday over the summer for all these different supplies. It's been really fantastic. We also are proposing this year a marine fuel tax holiday over the summer, so no tax on marine fuel, which I know a lot of people who are boating would really like to see. So we're looking at what can we do given what's going on with how great this industry is, how great the recreational pursuits, the culture, everything that goes into it. And with this Boater Freedom Act, which Senator Trumbull is spearheading in the Senate, you also have Griffiths doing it in the House, but I'll say some in a minute. The House, you know, really looks more intent to obstruct it than to actually pass it, even though our voters have been very clear to us that we want to see it passed. But this thing is, I think, something that was really important. One, it will establish the right to boat by preempting local governments from banning the sale or use of boats based on fuel sources. Now, this probably wouldn't happen in Bay County, but there may be some counties where they will say, well, you will not be able to purchase a gas-powered boat in the future. You can only do electric and all that. There's people that actually want to do that. That's not flying in the state of Florida. That's your choice, which type of boat you want to use, or which type of boat you want to sell, or which boat that you want to purchase. That is up to you. So we will ensure you can buy the vessel you want, and we will also maintain protections that we have that are common sense. I mean, we do have seagrass protection, manatee zones, wake speeds. That's fine. That's good. But don't tell us what type of boats that we have to buy. The bill will also right a wrong that has been an issue for far too long, and will finally bring it to an end. Current law allows both state and also local law enforcement to pull a boater over when no probable cause or suspected violation has occurred, and they can conduct inspections without having even a pretext to do so. This could include personal property searches, sometimes leads to further law enforcement action beyond safety compliance. While laws previously passed have attempted to solve this, the problem persists, and our voters let us know. that the problem persists. Therefore, as part of the Boater Freedom Act, we will end this practice by prohibiting the use of a safety inspection as probable cause to pull over a boater. You have to have real probable cause if you want to pull over a boater.
Governor Ron DeSantis speaking at Treasure Island Marina, Panama City Beach in Bay County in the Panhandle there, speaking about the Boater Freedom Act, talking about some of the provisions of that as well. So we're going to take a break here on Florida Live. But as we do so, I want to pop up our poll of the day again so that you can vote for this. Fox35orlando.com/vote, or use the QR code to pull that up on your screen. You can just click Florida Live and vote for which Epic Universe world you want to see when we take a closer look here a little bit later in the show. So we'll leave this up here for a little bit as we go to break here on Florida Live. And then when we come back, we'll check in with Fox 13 for our Tampa connection. So keep it right here on Fox Local and on YouTube. Welcome back into Florida Live. More votes coming in on which Epic Universe world you want to see. Right now it's looking like Super Nintendo World. Again, vote in this poll because you will decide what story we show you, taking a closer look from Fox 35's David Martin, who had the chance to experience the park on over the weekend, Saturday, I believe it was, when he was there. So pretty exciting stuff. Pick which one you want to see, vote. Whichever one has the most votes is the one that we will see in just a few minutes. Well, it is time now for our Tampa connection, and for that we go to Fox 13's Nancy Gay, digital content producer there. And Nancy, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Garrett. Well, today Florida's Attorney General was in Tampa to announce the arrests of 8 people connected to an international child porn ring. Now, of those 8 people, 7 of them are Floridians. Now, Attorney General Wymer called the ring truly heinous, and longtime law enforcement officers said it was the most disturbing case of child pornography that they had ever seen. Now, this all began last July when an FDLE agent who was working proactively to find people selling and sharing child porn found someone in a chat room who directed him to a website where for $100 he was able to purchase 1.2 million videos and photos of child pornography that included infants. Now, within a week, the Florida Department of Law Enforcement executed a search warrant and shut down that website. And within 2 days of shutting it down, law enforcement agencies from across the country reached out to the FDLE and thanked them because they said that they had active cases involving that particular website, but they weren't able to shut it down. Now, as I mentioned, 7 of the 8 people who have been arrested are from Florida, and one of them is from Clearwater. Investigators said that when they seized the Clearwater suspect's phone, they found child pornography on it, and 7 days later, they went to his home to arrest him. Investigators said when they went to arrest him, this man had already purchased another phone, and he had even more child pornography on that phone. Law enforcement officers say the mastermind behind this website is actually a man in Turkey who went to great lengths to conceal his identity. That man is currently not in custody, but the Attorney General hopes that he will be charged soon, and he would like to have him extradited back to Florida. Garrett?
A lot of disturbing details with that, and clearly a widespread operation going on here that reached thousands of miles. I mean, all the way from Turkey to Florida with the 7 suspects here. So really just disturbing to hear.
Yeah, it's very disturbing. And as I said, these law enforcement officers who spoke during today's press conference, some of them have been law enforcement officers for 20 or even 30 years, and they said that this is by far the worst case of child pornography they've ever seen.
Well, the Florida Highway Patrol searching for suspects in 2 different suspected road rage shootings over the weekend, Nancy?
Yes, that's correct. The first one happened Friday night, a little before 11 a.m. A woman said she was driving up I-75. She was going northbound, and right near Fletcher, she's noticed a person in a Honda CR-V that was driving erratically. Keep in mind, this woman actually had a 1-year-old child in her car with her. She said that when this person who was driving erratically crossed into her lane, she honked her horn to let them know, hey, you're in my lane, you almost hit me. And when she did that, troopers say that the driver of the Honda CR-V actually shot at her rear door. Troopers say that the woman drove off, and as soon as she felt she was in a safe place, she did call law enforcement. And when troopers arrived, they found a bullet inside that woman's car. She described the suspect as a heavy-set African-American man who was between 25 and 35 years old with a short beard. Now, that happened late Friday night. Now, early Sunday morning, there was a different suspected road rage shooting on I-4 just west of I-275. This is where a St. Petersburg man said he was driving westbound on I-4 just past I-275 when he saw a group of motorcyclists who were driving erratically. Now, troopers say that this driver actually pulled out a cell phone to try to record these motorcyclists, and that's when troopers say one of the motorcyclists pulled up alongside of the man and opened fire on his car, striking his vehicle several times. However, nobody was injured. Now, the suspected shooter in that particular incident is described as a white man with a medium build, and he was wearing an Outlaws MC jacket. Anyone with information on either of these 2 shootings is asked to call the Florida Highway Patrol from your cell phone. That number is *347, or you can call Crime Stoppers, which from a cell phone is *tips. Garrett? All
right, scary incidents there. We've talked before, Nancy, about these road rage incidents that just seem like they're becoming more and more common. So scary stuff there. Also some new details in this case of this missing and murdered Gulfport teen that we've been following for a few weeks now. And just kind of walk us through this, because this is hard to hear.
Yeah, this is very hard to hear. Now, as you remember, Miranda Corsette, she disappeared in February after she met a man who was, I believe he was 35 years old. She met this man on a dating app, and she met him in February. I want to say it was Valentine's Day. She got together with him. The next day, she went over to his house, and she never returned home. That's when her grandmother, she lived with her grandmother reported her missing about 10 days later. And last month, St. Petersburg police say that unfortunately Miranda was not only murdered, but she was dismembered. And what we learned over the weekend is that several people knew that she was being held captive and tortured, but they never told authorities and they never called 911. Now, this man that she met on a dating app, his name is Steve Gress, and his domestic partner, Michelle Brandis, have been charged with murder in Miranda Corsette's case. And a 25-page affidavit shows that actually 3 people, including Gress's own mother, later admitted to police that he had actually sent them photos that showed Miranda nude, bruised, and increasingly worse condition. The affidavit also states that a woman who was interviewed by police actually lived in the same first-floor apartment with Gress and Brandis, and she told police that the 2 suffocated Miranda, and then the 3 of them drove to Brandis's mother's home, where Gress and Brandis actually dismembered the teenager. The document shows that Gress blames Brandis for Miranda's death, and she is blaming Gress for the teenage girl's death. Now, police say they do believe that Miranda's remains were tossed into a dumpster in Riverview, and those remains, Garrett, have never been found.
Oh gosh, it's been a story that's been hard to hear for a while now, from the initial details in that news conference that we carried here on Florida Live, but to know that it sounds like that there may have been people who knew this was happening and still didn't call for help. That is hard to hear. Finally, Nancy, here, and this is
very hard to hear, to know that she probably could have been saved, because again, there was about a 10-day period from when she disappeared to when her grandmother reported her missing. In the St. Petersburg Police Department, they believe that she was being held against her will for several days and being tortured. And it is, as you said, absolutely heartbreaking to know that several people knew what was going on and did not call 911 and did not help her.
All right. Finally, Nancy, here, let's wrap up with an update to a story that we talked about on Friday with this viral video from the suspected boat rage incident.
Yes, we learned that over the weekend, the boat captain who was caught on camera jumping on board a 21-year-old fisherman's boat and threatening to beat him up and demanding that he apologize, he has been arrested. Now, Captain Brock Horner has been charged with burglary with assault or battery, non-forced entry. And police say since Horner is accused of threatening Gage, the incident was actually escalated to a criminal offense. Now, the video, which was taken by Gage Towels, ended up going viral last week and has racked up millions of views. Through his attorney, Captain Horner has apologized to Gage and also to the men who were on his boat at the time of the incident. Now, the argument apparently was about something that had happened days earlier. Captain Horner accused Gage of boating without his lights on. Gage said that it wasn't him and that the captain shouldn't be speeding under a bridge where a lot of people fish. Now, as I mentioned, he has been charged criminally, and in addition to this criminal investigation, the U.S. Coast Guard and the FWC are conducting separate investigations into this incident. So we'll probably have much more updates coming up here shortly.
All right, we look forward to that. Fox 13 digital content producer Nancy Gay, we appreciate you joining us for our Tampa Connection.
Thank you.
As we go to break here this afternoon, it's still not too late to get those votes in on which Epic Universe world you want to see, and it looks like we've got a tie right now between Dark Universe and Super Nintendo World. Whichever of these 4 worlds has the most votes here in just a few minutes, that is the world we will give you the sneak peek of coming up here on Florida Live. So scan that QR code or go to fox35orlando.com/vote. Cast your ballot for which Epic Universe world you want to get a closer look at, and we will play that for you here in just a couple of minutes. So we're going to take a break here on Florida Live, but we will be right back. An updated look here at our poll of the day. Which Epic Universe world do you want to see? Looks like Super Nintendo World with the lead right now, 39% to 31% over Dark Universe. So we will give you a sneak peek into one of these worlds here in just a minute. So cast those ballots. Go to fox35orlando.com/vote. Scan that QR code as well. Just to click on Florida Live, and that'll bring you to our poll, which we have right now, and pick your path forward here in just a couple of minutes, because we are getting a closer look at Epic Universe media previews going on now. Fox 35's David Martin was there over the weekend. I can give you a live look right now at the Stardust Racers, which is part of Celestial Park. Kind of the first world that you see when you walk into the portals of Epic Universe. You see the dueling coasters going on there right now. Earlier today on Fox 35 News Plus, David Martin kind of walked us through some of what he experienced, what he saw, starting with Celestial Park. David, I want to get your initial thoughts because you have now had the chance to experience Epic Universe. What do you make of it?
Good question, Garrett. There are theme parks, and then there is Epic. Clearly, Universal has set itself apart from the pack. They've raised the bar so high here with this, now their fourth theme park in Orlando. I can't tell you enough how much I enjoyed it. It is simply sensational. We had the honor to spend the entire day on Saturday from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. walking through all 5 worlds inside Epic. We went, it was a fast tour. It was a VIP tour. We got to see as much as we could, and we barely touched the surface of the park. You know, walking around with all the cameras. Remember, this is the first weekend that Universal allowed anybody with cameras to take pictures and videos and then publish them without getting into trouble. So your social media feeds, I'm sure, are overwhelmed with great content from this stunning park. So my overall impression is A++, 11 out of 10. I cannot wait to get an annual pass.
Stunning seems like a good word for it. Now, I obviously haven't seen it in person, but I have seen a lot of the images on social media, like you said, that have kind of been coming out from it. And it seems like the attention to detail is something.
It's funny you say that because, for example, when you go and get transported through the portal into the wizarding world of Harry Potter Ministry of Magic, that's one of the 5 worlds, I hear a lot of, I could spend an entire day there because the details are everywhere, top to bottom. You feel like you have walked into 1920s Paris. The amount of engineering that went into just the design, the surface stuff that you see when you walk in is monumental. It's shockingly enormous, the park is. I know some people say, it's smaller than I thought. I don't know what planet they're on. It was huge. Our feet were exhausted after 8-9 hours of walking around. So it's large and it's in charge. Now, there are 5 worlds, as we've mentioned over the course of our coverage here this morning on Fox 35. You've got the Harry Potter world, you have Super Nintendo World, Dark Universe, How to Train Your Dragon, Isle of Berk, and then you have the entrance world, I'll call it. It's Celestial Park. It's the world you first walk into when you pass through the Kronos, which is the opening iconic structure there at the top of the park. Would you like to see a little more detail on Celestial Park, Garrett?
Yes, let's go ahead and take a look at that.
Great. When you enter Epic Universe, you're not just walking through a gate. You're stepping under something called the Kronos. VIP tour guide Alicia Linton explains what that is.
We're going through our first portal with a beautiful saying on the top of it, beyond this gate, find gardens green and epic worlds to fill your dreams.
After you snap your photo of the Kronos, it's off to the first world, Celestial Park, filled with lush gardens, sparkling waterways, and strolling paths. Celestial Park puts the park back in theme park. All around you is stunning architecture inspired by astronomical and mythological elements. Toward the back of this world is the new Helios Grand Hotel, a 500-room luxury resort which has its own dedicated entrance to Epic Universe. Now, Celestial Park is the main portal to the other 4 worlds that you'll explore at Epic. It's all about relaxation, eating, and shopping here. It's got the gorgeous Constellation Carousel with fantastical whirls through the Milky Way. But the marquee attraction here is something called Stardust Racers.
Way back in the day, Celestians would travel via comets and shooting stars. They would pull them out of the skies, use their power, and travel to different worlds. And it became a little dangerous because a lot of people would get stuck. So they're like, it's probably not a great idea to do that anymore for time travel. So he created a way for us to still ride the comets safely with 2 dueling coasters. We have Photon and Pulsar.
Here we go. It's your exclusive look at the platform of Stardust Racers.
Stardust Racers is a dual-launch roller coaster that sends guests rocketing through the skies aboard comets in a race to see who's the fastest of them all. The tracks run parallel, intertwine, and crisscross multiple times for the entire race. Your coaster cars, either green or yellow, get so close to each other that you feel you can almost touch your competitor's hands. Stardust Racers reaches speeds up to 62 miles per hour and heights up to 133 feet.
Oh man, I want to ride it over and over and over again. Wouldn't you agree?
Did we just do that?
We did. We did it twice in a row. Kind of back seat, front seat.
I think I'm too dizzy to do 3.
Yeah, we need some lunch. Oh my God, though. Fantastic ride. Stardust Racers. 11 out of 10.
And here's an Easter egg. Look at the back of the coaster cars. A flux capacitor. The technology for time travel in Back to the Future.
How cool is that? In our conversation with David, if you'd like to watch the full one, it's up on Fox Local right now and fox35orlando.com. In our conversation, he said that Stardust Racers may be his favorite roller coaster in all of Orlando. So pretty high praise there from David, who has ridden many of those coasters around our area. So here is our poll. I left it up for you if you wanted to vote during that story there. It looks like we're at a tie, 34-34. So here's what I'm going to do. When you were watching our conversation, our live talk with David Martin earlier on Fox 35 News Plus, we did a separate poll for that show, and it was Dark Universe was the winner. So for this show, we will check out Super Nintendo World because it's tied, and I didn't lay down any sort of rules or tiebreakers beforehand, so that means I get to pick, and I'm going to pick that we check out Super Nintendo World. So Fox 35's David Martin now going to give us a closer look inside Super Nintendo World at Epic Universe.
One of the most remarkable aspects of Universal Epic Universe is how the theme park transports you from world to world. In this case, going from the centerpiece of the property, Celestial Park, to Super Nintendo World is unlike anything I've ever seen. The anticipation builds as you enter the iconic green pipe. And when you pop out,
You literally step into a video game.
utter joy and sheer delight. The vibrant scenery from the Super Mario video game franchise is dazzling beyond comprehension. Stimulation to the max, a true vibe of we are kids of all ages. The colorful landscapes of the Mushroom Kingdom come to life with multiple experiences. For example, in Mario Kart Bowser's Challenge, you'll pop on the hat and steer your Mario Kart through a variety of immersive courses to collect coins and toss shells, competing with your friends, of course, for points. Slow it down a bit on Yoshi's Adventure, a family-friendly ride with breathtaking views of Super Mario Land as you search for glowing eggs.
Diddy Kong.
Make sure to buy a wearable power-up band. This wrist accessory will enhance your play throughout the world and help you collect important coins and keys to unlock hidden surprises. And then you'll find out what's up by going down to Donkey Kong Country. Get lost in the lush tropical landscape of tall trees, waterfalls, and landmarks like the Golden Temple from the classic arcade game. The marquee attraction here? Minecart Madness. You'll hop into a minecart and careen through the jungle to help Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong protect the coveted golden banana on this first-of-its-kind family coaster. The innovative technology has your cart blasting out of a barrel and jumping over huge gaps as you speed along a rickety track. This ride is absolutely hilarious.
It really does look like you are smack dab in the middle of that video game. That is something to see. We're going to take a break here on Florida Live, but we'll be right back. Welcome back into Florida Live. I'm Garrett Wymer, and thanks for joining us on this Monday afternoon, live on Fox Local and on YouTube. The city of Tampa is vulnerable, according to a new report, to sea level rise, heavy rain, storm surge. This is a report that comes out that's done every 5 years. It's paid for by the state, and it looks at the level of vulnerability, the things that need to be addressed, and some steps that the city can take to better address and better handle these increasing and rising threats. At a news conference earlier today, Tampa's mayor, Jane Castor, talked about historic rain from hurricanes last year. She also talked about changes that are going on to the city's wastewater treatment plants to raise the level of the pumps and allow them to continue to operate even in high water situations. I want to play for you a little bit of that news conference where the mayor and the city's sustainability coordinator talked not just about those changes, but also talked about the ongoing and changing threats because of climate change and other weather impacts.
We have brought you all out here today to talk about climate change. As we all know, climate change is impacting our community and really the entire country and the world itself. And when we look at sea level rise, that is a concern for our community as we look at the coastal areas and storms that are happening, the sea level rise and storm surge. But we had a vulnerability report done. We have one done every 5 years. It's funded by the state. Just finished ours recently by our wonderful consultants, Applied Sciences, and that within that 200 pages, there is a lot of information on tasks that we need to carry out to keep our neighborhoods and our entire community safe. Really, the hundreds of thousands of individuals that we serve every day. And what that research found is that the number one issue that is impacting our community now and going into the future are these rain events, these historic rain events. Many of you will remember, I believe a year or so ago, South Tampa, we had 3 inches of rain in an hour. And our systems just aren't built to be able to handle that type of rainfall. And that's what we're seeing more and more in our community. This pumping station right here at 18th Street is one of 28 out of 228 pumping stations that are going to be improved. And I know everyone knows this as well, but the wastewater is gravity fed. And so our water system is pressurized. So when the water pump break or a water pipe breaks, you know it immediately. With our wastewater, we have to have these pumping stations that will lift that wastewater up to the next level so that it can continue along that downward gravity path. So we are making these improvements for our community each and every day. And we saw the impacts from Milton of the excessive rain, historical amount of rain that we received in a very short period of time, and the impact that that had on our community. And so we are trying to address all of those issues as quickly as we possibly can. And this is just another great example.
The assessment focuses on our city-owned infrastructure, looking at the vulnerability to flooding from sea level rise, extreme rainfall, and storm surge through the year 2070. The city's infrastructure, such as buildings, pump stations, bridges, cultural assets, and transportation networks, were evaluated to determine the vulnerability to these risks. Sea level rise is a risk that will increase gradually over the next few decades, with NOAA predicting that the Gulf Coast would experience an increase of 14 to 18 inches by 2050. Alone, this does not pose a large risk to our city, as much of it lies at or above 5 feet above sea level. But when combined with extreme rainfall or storm surge events, as Mayor Castor referenced, it stands to make the flooding caused by these events even worse.
So that was some of that news conference earlier today, as they touched on not only the threats to Tampa, but also some steps that the city is taking to help with that when you see heavy rain and storm surge and other threats, rising sea level, other threats like that. We're going to take a break here on Florida Live, but we will be right back after this. Welcome back into Florida Live. I'm Garrett Wymer, and thanks for joining us today on this Monday afternoon. The torpedo bats have been the talk of the Major League Baseball season so far. They really got off to a hot start thanks to the publicity of the New York Yankees using them, hitting a number of home runs with them on opening day. And so we wanted to get a closer look at the bats. What's different about them? Why are they making such a difference? Why are they gaining popularity? And why now? These are all things we talked about with Driveline Baseball that opened a new facility in Tampa. We talked with Travis Fitta, the lead hitting trainer there, and they kind of talked us and walked us through what's different and why these torpedo bats could be part of a new wave of things in baseball.
Essentially, what we're doing with the torpedo bats, or what they're designing them to do, is just shifting the mass distribution more towards the handle, I guess you could say. So when we shift the mass distribution, we see some different physics behind the way the bat swings, the way the bat moves through space. Things such as lower moment of inertia, which essentially moment of inertia is just an object's ability to resist rotational acceleration. So in other words, higher moment of inertia means it's harder to get that bat moving. So when we move the mass kind of more towards the handle, it's easier to get the bat moving. So for these guys, not only does it maximize kind of their sweet spot per se and where they hit the ball, but it's also making the bat easier to swing.
And so what's the science behind it? You touched on it a little bit there, but how is this helping?
Yeah, that's a really good question, right? I think the one big thing to probably make everybody aware of when it comes to changing any implement, changing any bat in a guy's hand is like, it's always going to come down to what is the best thing for that hitter. And a lot of that comes down to, we can do bat fittings. We can find out the exact bat dimensions, weight distribution that is probably going to be most beneficial for your swing. But really at the end of the day too, it all comes down to what a player is feeling in the moment. What is he feeling in his hands? How does that bat become an extension of the player? And I think like for the longest time, you've just had guys kind of rotate through bats in a dugout, right? I think Bryce Harper is pretty famous for this if you haven't noticed it, but like we'll pick up any bat in a dugout, change his bat midseason to one of his teammates' bats. One, that's really cool because it shows you a guy who's willing to pick up implements and basically find a barrel with anything. But I also think in the moment, it's about finding what speaks to you. So when we talk about, the torpedo bats, we could also talk about any training implement that we have inside of Driveline. Like the higher moment of inertia bats are going to be the barrel load object. Really hard to get that thing moving. But when we shift the weight down to the handle and we go to our handle loaded object, a little bit easier to get that barrel moving to the point you need it to be. So it's cool on a couple fronts. One, it gives you way more confidence standing in the box that you have something that kind of fits into the game plan or the biomechanics and data suggest that this is going to be best for your swing. And the other part of it is these guys have been using training bats for years. So really, you're just replicating a feel that a guy may get in a cage with a handle-loaded object and be like, man, this feels really good in my hand. I move it fast. I hit balls hard. Well, I just want the same thing out of my game bat now, because the minute I go back to my game bat, I'm talking about maybe a more even-loaded barrel. So the big thing now is making sure that when guys are competing at the highest levels, well, now they've got implements that can match up to feels. They got implements that are backed up by data, giving them their best chance when they step in the box.
So compared to a regular baseball bat, how does it feel differently when you're holding it in your hands and when you're swinging it?
Yeah, I think, this is obviously from like years of experience now with using different weighted objects, even inside of our own gym. But anything that shifts the weight down towards the handles almost feels like my body is in more control of where that bat is in space than potentially something that is super end loaded, where I know that I have to have my arms, hands way more involved, right? So what we're talking about really is motor learning. How does your brain process movements? And proprioception, which for those who don't know what that word is, it's just basically your body's understanding of where it's at in space. It's why I'm able to touch my nose without trying to go find my nose, right? So anything that moves that weight, the feeling towards a body for some guys is going to be a better feeling because they have pretty good awareness of where the barrel is in space. For guys that lack that feel of knowing where that barrel is, because in the course of a long season, biomechanics will change, fatigue sets in. You might see guys use different bats throughout the season just based on fatigue levels alone.
Some people say these bats should be banned. They shouldn't be allowed in actual gameplay. What do you say?
I'd say you'd be banning a lot of players and a lot of teams from using them. I also just think generally they're not a cheat code, right? Like there's so many more things that go into really good batted ball efficiency than just simply moving where the weight is on a bat. I'll use the term cheat code, right? It's a cheat code for a player to be standing in a box using something that he knows is going to make him feel better. It's going to make him maybe feel more efficient. And at the end of the day, these bats are all MLB tested. And if you don't know the MLB testing protocol for bats, it is extensive. There are 1,000 rules and regulations you need to jump through, which means if MLB is approving these bats, it's because they've gone through the proper protocols and the proper channels. They haven't changed anything. What they may have done is allowed players who weren't able to maximize their batted ball efficiency because of, we'll call it poorer contact, right? Like a lot of hand jam shots, a lot of end cap shots, maybe a lot of flare slice balls. Now you're starting to see by just simply changing the weight distribution in a bat, guys are able to do certain things. Their biomechanics are being recruited a little bit more efficiently and differently than they had in the past. So I think the bigger cheat code is maybe seeing guys live up to the potential that they always thought they could be by just simply being their best versions in the box. But I mean, this absolutely adds no cheating to the game at all. And I would say that if we're going to be arguing about torpedo bats in the game, then there's 1,000 other things that we could be arguing too. And at some point, it's just not going to be a game anymore that's played. It's just going to be a heavy regulated sports league that nobody wants to watch anyway. So what's been good about it is for everybody who's not a fan of it, a lot of people are a fan of it, and whatever gets people engaged in the game and talking. I mean, baseball this year seems to be one of the first years that I can remember in a while where the active users of just participating in conversation of the game on social media is at its highest. Like there's a lot of good things coming, and if it takes something kind of new and innovative to make people talk, then I'm all for it, man. And I would say if people have, an issue with a torpedo bat, I would love to show them what our bazooka bat internally looks like, because that thing is a 34-inch, 50-ounce bat. It looks like a heat-seeking missile. So there's a lot of ways to go about it, man. But it's anything that's better for the game is going to make the game great.
So where do things go next with this then?
The thing is, you can only really shift the mass distribution of the bat so much. I mean, at the end of the day, we're talking 2-inch, maybe even less shifts with the barrel. And at the end of the day, kind of like Travis said, is like the guys at the MLB level, they know how to hit. So if whether we shift the barrel an inch, 2 inches, like yeah, it might feel better for them, but realistically, we're not going to get into a world where we have bats customized to the millimeter, because at the end of the day, the physics changes from bats changed by that little of a margin. Like we're not seeing that big of a difference to kind of throw the whole bat industry, I think, on its head.
The way it changes the game is it gets people talking about it. And the way it changes the game for a player individually at the big league level is it means that I can step into the box and I don't have to think about anything else anymore. Is this bat worth it? Is the bat going to help me make better decisions? Like if I just believe that I am in the best position possible, well, then the bat is worth way more than probably what you paid to get it. So it's a reason why confidence, unfortunately, it can't be measured, right? We can only subjectively ask people, but like those guys making the switch are not making the switch simply because they're at the last stage of their career. Like you have MVP candidates in their prime making switches to this bat, and they're not doing it on a hunch, right? Like they are probably putting in the testing and the protocols possible to make the best decision. So the trickle down effect is the game grows, and I think that's the only thing that really matters.
So exciting technology, and we'll see where things go from here. Live look at San Antonio. You see the Goodyear blimp circling yet again ahead of the Florida Gators and the Houston Cougars facing off in the NCAA Men's Basketball National Championship game tonight. Florida looking for their third national championship. It would be their first since they went back-to-back in 06 and 07. It would actually be the SEC's first national championship since 2012 when Kentucky won that year. So a lot on the line for the Florida Gators looking for the national championship. That game tips off, I believe it's 8:50 p.m. So hope you're ready to stay up a little bit late tonight for the Gators in the culmination of what has been an exciting tournament. And a lot of exciting games for the Gators. Thanks for joining us here on Florida Live. Have a great afternoon.
Florida Live starts now.
Well, good afternoon to you and welcome into Florida Live. I'm Garrett Wymer, and thanks for joining us on this Monday afternoon live on Fox Local, Fox13News.com, Fox35Orlando.com, and also on YouTube. We appreciate you joining us here today. We've got a lot to get to, but the first thing I want to do is start with a question for you. This is our